Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everyday English podcast, your daily companion on the journey to becoming more confident and fluent in English. I'm Anna, and I'm truly glad you're here today. Whether you're listening on your way to work, while doing chores, or just relaxing at home, this episode is designed to help you improve your English in a simple, practical, and enjoyable way. Today's episode is a very useful one, especially for those of you who want to speak English more naturally and confidently in everyday situations. We'll be focusing on 100 daily routine English sentences, real life, commonly used expressions that native speakers say every day. These aren't complicated grammar lessons or textbook-style conversations. Instead, they're the kinds of short, helpful phrases you can start using right away. Whether you're at home, at work, outside, or just going through your regular daily routine. One of the biggest challenges English learners face is not knowing what to say in normal, everyday moments. You may know vocabulary and you may have studied grammar, but when it's time to speak, especially in fast, casual conversations, it's easy to freeze or feel unsure. That's why this episode is so important. By listening, repeating, and practicing these simple sentences, you'll build a strong foundation of practical, spoken English. You'll learn how to express yourself in daily life using natural language that native speakers use all the time. This episode is also great for listening practice. As you follow along, you'll improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence. You can listen to this episode multiple times, pause to repeat the sentences out loud, or even write them down for extra practice. My goal is to make it easier for you to not just learn English, but to live in English, using it naturally and comfortably in your daily life. So get ready. Make sure you're in a quiet place where you can listen and speak freely. And let's begin our journey through 100 powerful everyday English sentences. If you're learning English, one of the most effective ways to improve is by using English regularly in your daily life. Studying grammar rules and memorizing vocabulary are important, but real progress happens when you begin to speak and understand English in everyday situations, like when you're getting ready in the morning, going to work, talking to friends, or even doing your shopping. These are the moments when real communication happens, and being able to express yourself clearly and naturally during these moments is what makes you feel truly fluent. However, for many learners, knowing what to say can be a challenge. You may often find yourself thinking in your native language, searching for the right words in English, or worrying about whether your sentence sounds natural. That's completely normal, and that's exactly why this episode is here to help. In this lesson, we're going to explore 100 short, simple English sentences that are commonly used by native speakers in everyday life. These are not formal, complicated phrases. They're easy, practical, and ready to use. As you listen, you'll be able to hear how each sentence sounds naturally. You can repeat after me, pause the podcast when needed, and even try using the sentences in your real conversations. You might also want to practice with a friend or record yourself speaking. The more you use these sentences, the more automatic and confident your English will become. Think of this episode as your personal daily speaking coach, guiding you through useful phrases that will help you feel more at home in the English-speaking world. Before we dive into the 100 daily English sentences, I want to share a few tips on how to make the most of this episode. The key to improving your English speaking skills isn't just listening, it's active practice. So, as you listen to each sentence, try to focus carefully on how the words sound. Pay attention to the pronunciation, the rhythm, and the way the sentence flows. English, like any language, has a natural music to it, and the more you listen, the more you'll start to feel and hear that rhythm. After I say each sentence, I'll leave a short pause. That pause is your time to repeat the sentence out loud. Don't just think it in your head, say it with your voice. Speaking out loud is very important because it helps your mouth and brain work together. It also builds muscle memory, so the more you repeat, the easier it becomes to say these sentences naturally in real-life situations. Don't worry if your pronunciation isn't perfect at first. What matters most is that you're speaking and practicing.
You can also pause the episode whenever you need more time. If a sentence feels difficult or new, don't rush. Repeat it as many times as you like until you feel comfortable with it. You might even want to write it down in a notebook or practice saying it in front of a mirror. These small habits can make a big difference in your progress. And most importantly, try using these sentences in your real life. When you wake up in the morning, use some of the sentences we covered today. When you go to work or school, think about which ones you can say. When you're talking to a friend, challenge yourself to use even one new phrase from this episode. The goal is not just to learn English, but to live in English, to make it part of your daily routine so it becomes natural and effortless over time. You're not just learning words, you're building your fluency, one sentence at a time. 100 sentences, divided into 5 parts. Let's start with the morning, the beginning of every day, and a perfect time to practice English. When you first open your eyes, you might say, "Good morning," to yourself, your family, or even your pet. It's a simple, friendly way to start the day. You could then say, "I just woke up," or "I slept well," depending on how your night went. And if you're like many people, your first thought might be, "I need 5 more minutes." That's a very common sentence, especially when you don't feel like getting out of bed right away. But soon it's time to say, "Time to get out of bed," and begin your routine. You might say, "Let me brush my teeth," as you head to the bathroom. After that, many people take a shower, so you can say, "I'm going to take a shower." If you can't find something, like your towel, you could say, "Where's my towel?" It's a useful question that works with any object. Then it's time to get dressed. You might think, "I need to get dressed," followed by, "What should I wear today?" A very typical question when choosing clothes for school, work, or even a casual day at home. Now that you're ready, it's time for food. You can say, "I'm making breakfast," or if someone else is around, "Do you want some coffee?" A friendly way to offer something in the morning. If you're running late, you might say, "I'm in a hurry," or "Let's go." These phrases are short and commonly used when time is limited. Before you leave the house, it's useful to say, "I need to pack my bag," and double-check with, "Did I forget anything?" It's always smart to check the weather, so you might say, "The weather looks nice today." Finally, as you walk out the door, don't forget to remind yourself or someone else, "Don't forget your keys." Then say, "I'm leaving now," and wish them or yourself a good start with. Have a great day. Now let's move on to the next part of your day, when you're going to work, school, or anywhere you spend most of your time during the day. As you leave home, you can say, I'm on my way to work, or I'm on my way to school. These are very common phrases used when you're heading somewhere. If there's a lot of traffic, you might say, the traffic is heavy, which is a useful sentence when things are slow on the road or you're running late. Once you arrive, you can say, I arrived on time. Or if you're just starting your tasks or classes, you might say, let's get started. This is a great expression to begin anything, work, meetings, or study. If you have plans already, you can mention them by saying, I have a meeting at 10, or I'm checking my emails, which is something many people do at the start of the day. If you're feeling a little tired or need a short break, a simple sentence like, I need a break, or if you want to step out with a colleague or friend, you can say, let's grab a coffee. As the day goes on, you'll probably be working on tasks, so you can say, I'm working on a project. And if you need assistance, asking, can you help me with this? Is a polite and useful way to get support. If someone calls you during work but you're busy, you can respond with, I'll call you back. And if you agree with someone's idea in a meeting or class, you can say, that's a great idea. These types of responses help you sound natural and engaged in conversation. Throughout the day, take short pauses when needed. Let's take a short break is a great phrase for this. Then, when it's time for food, you might say, lunchtime, or ask, what do you want to eat? Especially if you're going out with others. After lunch, when you're getting close to finishing your tasks, it's helpful to say, I'm almost done, or let's finish this today to keep things productive and focused. As your workday or school day ends, you can say, I'll see you tomorrow, and I'm heading home. And finally, you might reflect on your day with a simple sentence like, today was a busy day. These are the kinds of expressions you'll hear every day in the workplace, at school, or anywhere people work and study. Practicing them helps you sound more natural, polite, and confident, and lets you take part in daily conversations more easily. Now let's move into the evening. The time of day when you come back home, slow down, and relax after work, school, or whatever kept you busy. The first thing many people say when they walk through the door is, I'm back home. It's a simple sentence, but it marks the end of the day's outside responsibilities. If you had a full day, you might add, that was a long day, or I'm so tired. These are great ways to express how you're feeling after a busy or stressful day. The next thing most of us do is get comfortable, so you can say, let me change my clothes. This is a very common routine, especially after being out all day. Once you're settled, it's normal to want to relax. You might say, I need to relax, which is an honest and natural way to express that you're ready to rest. And of course, food is a part of any evening. If you're hungry or checking what's available, you can say, what's for dinner? This is a useful question whether you're cooking or someone else is. After eating, many people enjoy some quiet time. If you're watching something, you can say, let's watch a movie. Or if you're helping out at home, you might say, I'm doing the dishes. These are everyday sentences used in nearly every household. Sometimes work continues into the evening, and if that's the case, you can say, I have to finish some work. If someone is doing something nearby, you can offer help by saying, can I help you with that? A polite and kind phrase that's easy to use. Evenings are also a great time to connect. You can simply say, let's talk for a bit, especially if you haven't seen your family or housemates all day. As bedtime approaches, many people take a second shower to relax, so you might say, "I'm taking a shower." Then it's time to get ready for the next day. A good habit is to say, "I need to set my alarm," so you don't oversleep in the morning. As your day ends, you might say, "I'm going to bed," or simply, "Good night," to someone else in your home. These short phrases are warm and familiar. You could also add "sleep well" as a kind way to wish someone a peaceful rest. Before turning off the lights, don't forget to say, "Don't forget to lock the door." A small but important sentence. And finally, a soft, "I'll see you in the morning," followed by, "Time to switch off the lights," ends your day on a calm and natural note. All of these sentences are part of a typical evening routine. By practicing them regularly, you'll not only feel more confident speaking English, but you'll also begin to think in English, naturally and effortlessly, as part of your everyday life. Now let's talk about English you can use when you're out and doing errands, shopping, meeting friends, or just enjoying your day outside the home. One of the most common activities is going shopping. When you're heading out, you might say, "I'm going shopping." If you need help finding a place, asking, "Where's the nearest supermarket?" is a very useful sentence. Once you're in a store, you may want to check the price of something by asking, "How much is this?" A must-know phrase for any shopper. And when you're ready to pay, you can ask, "Do you take cards?" to see if the store accepts debit or credit cards. After your purchase, you might want a record of the payment, so saying, "Can I get a receipt?" is both polite and practical. You could also say, "I need to buy some groceries," if you're shopping for food and other household items. And if a shop assistant offers to help but you're just browsing, you can respond with, "I'm just looking, thank you." That's a polite way to say you don't need help yet. If something is too expensive for you, it's perfectly fine to say, "It's too expensive." On the other hand, if you find something at a great price, you might say, "That's a good deal." Now let's imagine you're outside the store enjoying some fresh air. You can say, "I'm walking to the park," which is a simple and peaceful phrase. When the weather is nice, it's great to comment on it. For example, "It's a beautiful day," or "The weather is nice." These are short, cheerful phrases that native speakers often say without thinking, and now you can too. If you have plans to meet someone, say, "I'm meeting a friend," or suggest something casual like, "Let's grab a coffee." These are friendly, natural ways to spend time with others. You might also ask, "What's the plan for today?" if you're with a group and want to know what's happening next. Another relaxing suggestion could be, "Let's go for a walk," which is great for casual conversations. Sometimes things don't go perfectly. You might realize, "I forgot my wallet," an unfortunate but very real sentence to know. Or if you need a moment, you can ask politely, "Can you wait a minute?" And of course, if you're running late, you can say, "Sorry, I'm late." If someone else says this to you, a kind and simple reply would be, "No problem." These everyday sentences will help you navigate social life, shopping, and basic conversations with confidence. The more you hear and say them, the more they'll become nature, helping you feel more comfortable in public, in shops, or while meeting others in your community. To finish this episode, let's focus on some of the most useful and common expressions used in everyday conversation. These short sentences will help you connect with people, express how you feel, and respond naturally in social situations, whether you're talking to friends, coworkers, strangers, or even new people you're meeting for the first time. Let's start with the basics. A simple, friendly, "How are you?" is often the first thing people say when they meet. It's a great way to start a conversation. You can respond with, "I'm doing great." Or if you're not feeling well, it's okay to say, "I'm not feeling well." Both are natural, honest replies. When someone tells you about a plan or idea, you can say, "That sounds fun," if you like it. Or if you want to show agreement, "I agree with you," is a polite and clear sentence. It helps to show that you're listening and engaged. If someone shares something new or surprising, you can say, "That's interesting." It's a great way to keep the conversation going and show curiosity. And if you want to ask for someone's opinion, say, "What do you think?" A simple question that invites others to share their thoughts. Of course, sometimes you might not understand everything. In that case, say, "I don't understand," or politely ask, "Can you repeat that?" Another helpful question is, "What does that mean?" A very useful phrase when you hear a new word or expression. In everyday talk, things don't always go perfectly. If something small goes wrong, you can say, "That's okay," or "Don't worry." These sentences show kindness and understanding. When saying goodbye, "Take care," is a warm and thoughtful way to end a conversation. If you're meeting someone for the first time, don't forget to say, "Nice to meet you." When someone is leaving or ending a call, you can casually say, "Have a good one," which means "have a good day." If you're unsure about something or need more time, you can say, "Let me know," or "I'll think about it." These are polite ways to keep the conversation open without giving an immediate answer. When someone suggests something you like, a perfect reply is, "Sounds good to me." And when your time together has been enjoyable, say, "I had a great time." To end a conversation or say goodbye in a friendly way, simply say, "See you later." These everyday expressions are short, simple, and full of meaning. They help you sound more natural, confident, and friendly in English conversations, and the more you use them, the more fluent you'll become in real-life social settings. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope these 100 daily English sentences help you feel more confident and ready to use English in your everyday life. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future lessons. I'll be sharing more simple, useful, and real-life English content to help you improve your speaking, listening, and confidence step by step. Until next time, keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep learning. See you soon.